Hello, I'm Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire studio at Phocuswright Europe, and we are talking experiences with Luuc Elzinga, President and Founder at Tiqets, and Jon Owen, CEO from GoCity. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, we continue to hear that experiences now more than ever really drive the travel decisions. I'm wondering your take, both of you, your take on that. Would you agree? And what do you see happening there? Jon, maybe if you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think when people go on holiday, they go to do things, and so if we specialise in city destinations. If you're going to a city, you're going to see all the sights and attractions in that city, and that's a big part of why people go. So I think that's true.
Yeah.
And we see it on several sites. One is that the time of booking is earlier, so it's really that they are planning to do the great stuff and they don't want to miss out the big things that can be sold out, for example. And I think also if it comes to partnerships which we have with other companies, that we really see that the experiences as a driver for loyalty, also for the OTAs in the hotel business, etc. So I fully agree.
Yeah, well, let's talk about loyalty, actually. First of all, I'm curious for both of you, how do you build some brand loyalty? And then how do you see experiences creating an opportunity of loyalty maybe for others?
Shall I go?
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting question in our sector. So in travel, one of the things that's really interesting is customers don't repeat as frequently as they do in certain other categories.
Right.
And so the concept of loyalty, as we've understood it, is really to build a really great product and brand that gives customers a great experience. And then you might get the benefit of that from them themselves repeating in time, but also from them telling other people. And so, I guess our efforts compared to, I previously worked in e-commerce retail. Okay. And compared to that business, I think the efforts are as much around creating a kind of nice brand experience, but also customer experience. And through that way, you get kind of fame and you get repeat business.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see that, of course, the same. I think, if the core of building a brand, building loyalty, is delivering a great experience. And if you do so, and if you exceed the expectations of the customers, you see it in loyalty in the same trip. So we measure, and especially on same trip, and if we see more sales there, and loyalty. But also if it comes when they are back at home, can we also make them to use tickets again for the local and regional museums and attractions there, right? So we are, of course, not only in a really touristic business, but also in a more local, regional weekend business where you also do this stuff.
That's an interesting point because, as you've said, people aren't maybe traveling on a big trip as frequently, but maybe if they live within an area that has some opportunities.
Totally agree. So when we sort of try and create fame for our business, we're both creating fame for GoCity as a brand, but also our category. So our category is a fairly novel category in the industry of pulling together lots of attractions into a pass that a customer can go to a city and visit as many as they want on one pass. We've added to that what we call an Explorer product, which is you can have 3 or 5 entrances to attractions over 60 days, precisely for that reason. So customers who use us on holiday to go and see everything in a short period of time can potentially have something a bit more relaxed to explore their local area.
Oh, that's interesting. And, so as we're talking then about creating that really great customer experience, of course, what can be done to improve the search and the booking and all of that? And particularly now, everything, I'm assuming for both of you, it's a lot on mobile. What more can be done to improve that experience for the user?
In our view, I think you would split the different aspects of that exactly as you have. So firstly, there's when a customer is in that early phase of finding out where they want to go and what they want to do in a city, you have to appear. Like, as I say, we're not a category that naturally people know about. And so we need to find out ways to interject ourselves into that search. So be it through Google search or social media presence, we need to find ways to make ourselves known.
Right.
And then our site needs to do the job of explaining all of the amazing benefits of the product. So the savings that customers can make, the kind of ease of use in a city. And so we would split it that way.
Yeah, and I think, if you talk about the attraction business and searching for that, I think the core thing is that, you want to add value in the industry. So if people are looking for a Colosseum, make sure that, if they reach you through the several channels, we work with more than 3,000 B2B partners with blogs, etc., that drive in a lot of volume. But if they are then on a Colosseum page, on a Sagrada Familia page here in Barcelona, make sure that it's fitting the needs of that particular audience, right? If it's a family with 2 kids, then you want something different than just a couple which studied historical Gaudi things, etc. So I think, giving them a great assortment of products, a guided tour, or maybe several audio guides, one for kids between 4 and 6, an audio guide for 12 to 15, right? With really different needs, is really helping to give that experience and make sure that it's also linked to the brand you're building, like us with tickets, that they are coming back because it's simply better than the supplier or the museum or attraction itself.
Yeah. And what about payments? How does that factor into this? Nowadays we hear about so many different payment opportunities and payment forms, and people aren't just paying with credit card and that type of thing. Is it important to...
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really interesting question again, because one of the things we've done, I really agree with what you said about making this experience as tailored as possible to different sorts of consumers. One of the kind of big initiatives we have, it kicked off, is localization. Initially that's at country level, and it's translation, but it's lots more. It's sort of different marketing channels, but it's also payments. And sort of adding the most convenient payments at every time gives kind of small but noticeable chunks of conversion benefit each time. Just the more you can make it easier for customers to understand what you're selling and to make the purchase easy, the better. And that's a part of that initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our mission is making culture more accessible, and that is getting rid of all the boundaries. And one of them is payment, right? So in the Netherlands, we use Ideal. Well, if you don't have Ideal for Dutch customers, they first don't trust it. They have no credit card. They lost their PIN code, right? So they might even decide not to go because it's difficult just to get in or have a great tour, etc. So I think this localization really helps people to adopt much more the experiences that are in areas where they don't speak the language or where they don't have the right payment
I think it's a
possibilities.
really good example. We've got an investment in China. We're building a WeChat program in China so Chinese outbound travelers can use our products across the world. Yeah. That's an extreme example of Western payment methods not working or not being optimal, because they don't work at all for a lot of Chinese customers. And so we're building a WeChat program with integrated payments to suit the needs of those customers.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So I have to get your take on, one of the big things that made headlines in the last few months was, of course, Airbnb rethinking experiences on its platform, paused accepting new listings. What do you think is happening there? Any take on what they may be doing, and could we see them partner with someone else potentially? So
potentially. So I have no real inside track on Airbnb. I think what I would observe is we've talked about this at conferences over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's still true, despite loads of good work from lots of different companies, that the travel, in particularly the attractions sector, is very fragmented with technology, with inventory management systems, with booking platforms. It's hard. Yeah. And you're in a market where quite a lot of the supply base are quite small businesses. Yeah. And so they can't all drop everything to do a big integration with someone else. And so I think maybe it's that. Maybe it's the kind of a really nice idea of giving these kind of experiences in a slightly different way to people, but the actual job of onboarding and integrating all the different partners you need to work with is pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, they have the time to think really good about how they really want it. Yeah. And I think they take the time, and I think that's really good instead of, just going around and test some things. It's, there's one thing Brian Chesky is doing well, and that is keeping up the brand Airbnb as the go-to place if you want to travel something and find a great place to stay. Yeah. So I think, in everything I feel and also what they say in public, that experiences are coming back. How? We don't know, but we're ready, of course, to partner.
Yeah. And what we see on our passes, in New York, for example, we see customers go to New York and they want to do the Brooklyn Brewery tour, or they want to do a kind of off the beaten track thing, or hire a bike in Central Park for a couple of hours. But they also want to go to the Empire State Building. Those iconic attractions are iconic for a reason. And so our point of view on that would be the combination is great, right? Yeah. Give people some blockbuster things, give them the absolutely kind of iconic sites, but give them lots of off the beaten track experiences as well.
Yeah. So the other brand I have to ask you about, of course, is Google. Google continues to be rolling out different updates. In the last year, they've added prices for attractions in Google Maps, suggestions for related experiences that might be of interest to the user. Google a friend or foe, or what's your take on Google in the space?
I guess we might have slightly different answers. I don't know.
Well, start.
To us, they're a friend.
Okay.
So because what we sell is kind of choice-based passes with a choice of 100 different things to do for one price, bought in advance. We advertise and we find a lot of our customers through Google, and so they're a partner of ours. I mean, we're probably below their radar, but they're an important channel for us.
Okay.
And I think to the pass business, there's a very complementary relationship.
Do you have an inside track on any more updates that are coming from them?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Just had to ask. And what's your take on it?
Well, I think, for us, Google is always a friend and also a kind of a frenemy.
Yeah.
I think in general, if your product becomes a commodity, it's an enemy, right?
Yeah.
So it also keeps us on our toes to keep on adding value, wherewith you're not being commoditized, and with that, you have a unique situation, a unique position in the market. And we also use them as a great way to acquire customers from all over the world. And I think that is how you should also use Google,
Right.
as a great friend to acquire customers. But if you have acquired them, keep them and don't reacquire them again.
Right. So before we finish up, I do have to ask you both about the hot topic of the 2023, I think, which of course is generative AI, Chat GPT, everything that's happening there. Just any take on that, whether how it might affect operations at your companies or whether opportunities that you see for it in the space?
So I think there's probably three things I'd say. The first thing is I think it could be very transformational, but maybe not quite as quickly as people think. And so I think if a company wasn't experimenting with it in different places, that would be negligent.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to transform everything straight away. And so I think the way we think it can help is both back-end customer service. There's a lot of processes where I think it can actually already do. It's not that it replaces cost of humans. It just does a better job of serving customers. But then there's some quite interesting things about selling. So that you could imagine some widgets on your site that sort of help explain the kind of components of your proposition to customers. That's a bit more creative and experimental and maybe a phase two, but that would be the sort of third thing I'd say.
Yeah. So I think both ways. So internally, it now really helps already with content creation and customer service, etc. So we see an enormous amount of efficiency already there. And on the front side, the demand side, there we are now a little bit playing with itineraries, right? And be able to give people much faster what they want based on a very flexible search string they put in. And I think that's very interesting. We also partner with a lot of companies that are experimenting more, but don't have the booking technology to book all the museums, attractions, tours which are involved. So I think we're also learning that and partnering with those companies who are more on the forefront. And we also say, okay, let's keep our strengths, and that is also the connectivity to make everything instant, last minute, and mobile entrance for the museums and attractions.
Yeah, I would imagine also just incredible translation efficiency for
absolutely.
both of you that are dealing with people from all over the world. And,
absolutely.
Exactly. And it's finding the blend, exactly. There's some kind of headline content about what we do in our pass and why visit a city that I think certainly for the foreseeable future, humans will be great at writing.
Yeah.
But then there's some other bits of content on the site that are kind of a little bit more formulaic, and it might really help sort of automate some of those and kind of error correct and do all that good stuff in the background could be really beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch, certainly over the coming months, for sure. So wonderful. Jon, Luuc, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.